Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 cartoons that look different in other countries. We all love animated movies, whether we're older and like Toy Story or younger and like Zootopia. But one thing all of these cartoons have in common is there are various changes in these cartoons in other countries. Some of these changes are big, some are small, but they're all surprising to see. Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe to my new channel, The Crafty. There's amazing DIYs and hacks on there, and anyone who comments saying they subscribed will be shouted out in the next Top 10s video. So do that, and why not sub to Top 10s too? Coming in at number 10 is Toy Story. Toy Story has been going for years and has had 3 different movies made of it. Thanks to this, it's a favorite among kids and adults. But some adults in other countries will have different memories of the movie than others. In Toy Story 2, Buzz Lightyear makes a speech urging all of the characters to try and find Woody. And while this is happening, he's standing in front of an American flag. However, this wouldn't really relate to the rest of the world, so in other countries, they show a globe. Also, as Buzz was making his speech, the American national anthem was played. But this, again, wouldn't make much sense in other countries, so instead a song called One World Anthem was played. And in case you don't know, One World Anthem is an idea a group of people had to make one international anthem for the whole world. This combines the best of both worlds, as it makes the movie all that more special. It shows American pride for Americans, as the movie was made in the USA. But the rest of the world isn't left out, thanks to this change in the cartoon around the world. Just be sure never to watch the Chinese bootleg version of this movie. In that, everything's changed, and not for the better. Next up is Monsters University. Monsters University is the sequel to the classic Monsters Inc. movie that came out back in 2001. Monsters Inc. was the same in every country, but in Monsters University there were quite a few changes. Firstly, at the Scare Games, which is part of the Monsters training, there's a big mural saying Scare Games as the rules are being announced. But in the international version of the movie, this is a little different. Instead, they show a creepy monster head with some symbols that kind of look like a fraternity sign you see at college. Wow, I wonder what a monster frat party would involve. Another change in the movie was when Randall baked some cupcakes decorated with the letters spelling Be My Pal. But in other countries that don't speak English, this wouldn't make any sense, so internationally they're smiley monster faces. And similarly, when Mike bumps into Randall, the cupcakes smash into his face, spelling the word lame. This of course wouldn't make any sense to non-English viewers, so the cupcakes are changed to smiley faces. I guess these are like the monster version of emojis. Next up is Up. Up is the touching story of a chubby Boy Scout helping an old man to fly his house with balloons. Okay, that doesn't sound like a good plot, but if you've watched it, you'll know it is. One of the places they want to go is a waterfall called Paradise Falls, and in one scene there's a jar with Paradise Falls written on it. But this wouldn't have made any sense to people in other countries as it's written in English. So instead, to cover all bases, they simply replaced the text with a picture drawn of Paradise Falls. Although it's not the best drawing, I guess you can kind of make out what it's gonna be if you've seen the movie. The reason Pixar have done this is to easily replace the sign without causing any confusion. It's also a cheap and easy method animators use, as replacing one sign is way easier than adding extra dialogue or animation. Even though they're doing it for their own convenience, it's still cool to see this age-old animation trick at work. Coming up next is Inside Out. Inside Out came out a few years ago, and when it did, it was instantly voted one of the best movies of all time by IMDb. This was for its amazing animation and storyline, especially for an animated movie directed at kids. However, there was one scene in the movie which wouldn't make any sense to one group of people. And while most of the time these movies are only different for America and then the rest of the world, this is not the case here, as the part would only be an issue for one country. In one scene, Riley refuses to eat some broccoli her dad gives her. We all know the joke about kids not liking their vegetables, but in Japan, kids love vegetables just as much as chocolate and potato chips. This is because their parents raised them to really appreciate vegetables as they're such a healthy food. And as a result of this, it means Riley not wanting to eat her broccoli wouldn't make any sense to a Japanese audience. So for Japan and Japan only, the broccoli was changed to green peppers. This is because green peppers aren't common food in Japan, and I'm pretty sure they're a fruit anyway. They have seeds, right? Another change in the movie is where Riley's dad is thinking about an ice hockey game. This is a common game in the US and Canada, but not so much elsewhere. So in all other countries, this was changed to a soccer game. Was that really necessary? I mean, I think everyone knows at least what ice hockey is. Next up is Zootopia. This one is super interesting, as not only the content of the movie changed in other countries, but the title did too. While the movie is known as Zootopia in the USA and most other countries, this was not the case everywhere. In the Middle East and some European countries, the movie was titled Zootropolis. But as I said, it's not just the title of the movie that's been changed for all other countries. In one scene where animals are reading the news, we can see a moose on the right, but this is not the same for all countries. In fact, this movie gave each country an animal related to them for the movie. The USA, Canada, Canada and France had a moose, Japan had a skunk, Australia and New Zealand had a koala, China had a panda, Brazil had a spotted jaguar, and the UK had a corgi. I don't know if the Queen was around that day, but it's safe to say this movie is very customizable for everyone. Maybe that's why it grossed over $1 billion. That's billion with a B.
Billions and 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 billions.
Next up is planes. If you haven't seen Planes, have you seen Cars? Because it's pretty much the same thing, but with planes instead of cars. There's not too many changes in this movie, but the things that have changed are pretty cool and interesting. The lady hero of the movie is a Canadian plane named Rochelle, but as they have to re-record the movie in different languages, they may as well make the character of Rochelle relevant to the country it's being played in. She actually has 11 different versions of herself in different countries. In Russia, she was named Tanya, in Germany Heidi, and in Brazil she was named Carolina. And every country she was from became the country printed on her. This is one customizable plane, and it looks like somebody just took Rochelle to Los Santos Customs. Rochelle, or should I say Tanya Heidi Carolina Rochelle? Next up is WreckIt Ralph. When this movie was released back in 2012, it was an instant hit. It was popular in the USA, but very popular in Japan too. In Japan, there's a very famous animator named Hayao Miyazaki, who's kind of like the Matt Groening of Japan, but in the USA, she's not so well known. In the USA, there's a character in WreckIt Ralph called Minty Zaki, but in Japan, she was renamed to Minty Sakura and had a full makeover to look like Hayao Miyazaki. This is kind of like an homage to her, showing respect to her animation. Unless you're a bit of an animation nerd, people in other countries just wouldn't get this. But this is something that would likely make any Japanese person watching it smile, as their country's favorite animator was referenced. Check out the poll in the top right corner to vote for the best cartoon in a different country. I think it's Inside Out, because that is one interesting insight. As I said before guys, be sure to head over to Crafty right now and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you comment on the latest Crafty video saying you subscribed, I'm going to be shouting out everyone who does that in the next top 10s video. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now, and if you haven't already, leave a like and subscribe to Top 10s.